Hi, I'm MadSal. Welcome to the series where I show you the whole process of making one of my TikTok videos from start to finish, including the full photoshopping process, posting, and how much money I made. I am a content creator on YouTube and Instagram. I make funny photoshopping tutorials that are not actually tutorials. They are more for funny. And the theme of the week is photoshopping myself into guys' Bumble pictures and sending it to them. So that's what we'll do today. Today, I will be using Photoshop to put myself into this man's Bumble picture. Time to take some pictures. To start this Photoshop process, I've already made a cutout of my silhouette from my photo using a layer mask, and I spent a lot of time finessing the size of the Madeline portion of the image and trying to get a good slide into frame as a hook for my TikTok video. I am obsessed with Puppet Warp. It is a newish tool for me, but basically you just put pins on the joints of your image. Then you can adjust it and play with it like it's a puppet. So each part of the image will respond to the way that you mold the body, and it's really funny to watch. I think it comes across really cool on TikTok. Speeding through a lot of the nitty-gritty here, a lot of my process involves copying and pasting parts of the image and masking out pieces and adjusting lighting and hue and saturation, so it's just a lot of tedious work. That takes a very long time and may not be super fun to watch, but if you want a super in-depth full-length tutorial, please let me know in the comments and I will provide that for you. Slowing things back down to show you one of my favorite tools in Photoshop, Remove Tool. This is another AI-powered tool. It looks like a little Band-Aid. You just paint or circle the area that you want to remove, and the Remove Tool will analyze your background and remove it appropriately. Just make sure that you do this on a new layer, otherwise it will permanently alter the layer that you are removing something from. This was a long edit that was driving me crazy, and I will be honest, I often do rely on generative AI a little too much, but that's because when it hits and works well, it really works well. There are a lot of guidelines that need to be followed when using generative AI in Photoshop. And if it thinks you are violating these guidelines, it will block your attempt at generating an image. But the AI is very sensitive, and I trigger these guidelines all the time. And in my opinion, once you trigger it a couple of times per Photoshop session, it gets even more sensitive and starts blocking more and more attempts. When performing a generative fill task, it is reading all of the information visible on the screen from the layer that you have selected and below. So sometimes to try to get around these warnings, I will either hide the thing that might be triggering the warning by making sure that layer is not visible, or I will create a new layer with a black box covering what I suspect is triggering the warning. That's like 1,000 fingers. It is widely known that AI is very bad at generating hands, which makes sense to me. It's difficult for artists to draw hands, so it might be a complicated task for a computer to generate. Wedding ring? No, thank you. We're not married yet. Not yet. We might be at some point in the future. In my final videos that I post on TikTok, I cut out a lot of this manual labor because it's less exciting to watch, as you could see here. So I am constantly getting comments being like, Photoshop skills? What are you talking about? She just uses generative AI. And while it's true, I use a ton of generative AI, there is so much more manual manipulation that I am doing behind the scenes that just would feel very repetitive and boring, because I am also kind of learning Photoshop as I do this. I was never professionally taught. I've just used it over the years for work and for personal stuff, and I learned from YouTube tutorials and just by doing. And that is still what I'm doing, because I typically just stick to the same handful of tools, and every once in a while I venture outside of my comfort zone and try other things. Like, I clearly have not mastered Puppet Warp, but I really love it, so I'm gonna use it over and over again before I give up and use AI instead. That's somebody else's arm. I completely understand the anger and fear coming from graphic designers and traditional photographers who are worried that they will lose work because of generative AI. That is a legitimate fear, but I feel like it's so easy to get weighed down by these fears when you could just take a little bit of time and start to learn what this technology has to offer. Photoshop itself was once an advanced piece of technology that I'm sure people called cheating because there were artists manually editing photos and making them look very realistic with paint and ink. And now we have computers that can do all of that. So using and learning generative AI is just moving with these technological advancements. And had it not been for generative AI, I would not be here providing you people with the most intelligent, sophisticated entertainment that the world has to offer. Just look at this masterpiece in progress. I am here doing the important work for you. This is so stupid. Can you believe how much of my heart and soul I pour into this? Honestly, I love technology and I love comedy and I love being able to make these dumb videos every single day. And in my pursuit of love by photoshopping myself into my Bumble matches pictures and sending it to them, I'm also creating a social experiment of sorts. So in addition to being a comedian and a photo editor, I'm also a scientist. I look like such a weirdo creep. As opposed to what I really am, which is a scientist. This ended up being such a long, exhausting edit that I did not really care for because the final product did not look realistic. But at the end of the day, the point of these videos is the hilarity coming from me photoshopping myself into the picture and sending it. So it still makes for a good video, even if the final result is not realistic. I have a hard time putting work out into the universe that I am not completely proud of. Sometimes I need to think of it from a comedic perspective and less from a artistic perspective. So that is what I ended up doing here today. All right, good enough. I'll send it. Honestly, kind of a bad edit. I do not think this is realistic at all. Maybe because I'm looking at it so big. I'm just gonna send it, even though it makes me feel uncomfortable. This one feels so creepy, so much creepier than the other ones. Oh well, whatever. I don't, it's just never gonna get easier. It's okay. Send. We'll see what he says. Thank you for your patience. I know you've all been waiting and wondering, and he did reply. That's a pretty good margarita, isn't it? I thought it was funny. I liked this response. Then I responded this, and then I edited the video and I posted it. A lot of the comments did not like the response. This one commenter said that I have no game, which is funny. What would you have responded? What could have been better? Comment below. I love all the comments discussing the intricacies of these messages. It's so much fun. It performed pretty decently on TikTok. I would say it's like in the middle of the road for this series. Right now it has 419,000 views on TikTok. That's good. I mean, like, I always want it to go over 1 million, but 500,000 or 419,000, I will take. And because it got over 1,000 views, I was able to make some money on it. I posted this 2 weeks ago and I've made $60 on the video, which just goes to show you really need a video to have millions of views to make like a sizable chunk of change. I'm not gonna scoff at $60. Rate per mil views is at 54 cents. That's pretty low. We like it to be like 60 cents to $1. Over $1 would be great. But this is the first time that I'm realizing video completion rate, they are saying, affects rate per mil, which it affects how much I'll make. This is very interesting to me because one of the big draws to this series and the reason why it's doing so well is because people want to stick around to the end to see what the guy said. I always end my videos a little later with a wipe of the original photo and then the photo I edited, and people always swipe away for that. I keep it in my videos just as a safety tool to get my videos over 1 minute. So now knowing that video completion rate affects how high my RPM is, it's good to know I might want to move the person's response to be the very bitter end of the video. And then I could see if that actually increases how much I'm paid per video. Good to know, good to know. Since this was my 3rd video in this series, this really encouraged me to make it a series, especially seeing how much love I was getting in the comments. The comments made me really excited and encouraged me to keep doing this because I never have engagement this high, which is really exciting. A lot of the comments are hoping that I never find love so I can continue this series, which I appreciate. I am so glad you're loving my content. And I'm happy to report to all those people that I have not, so the series continues. If you like this behind the scenes look, make sure to give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, hit the notification bell, and I will see you in the next one.